This came up in the White House press briefing yesterday with Caroline Leavitt, 2183, an MSNBC correspondent, challenges the legitimacy of what Trump was saying to the South African president in the video presentation.
The president showed a video that he said showed more than 1,000 burial sites of white South Africans that he said were murdered. We know that that was not true and that the video wasn't showing that. So I wonder, why did the president choose to show that?
What's not true, Yamiche?
It's not true that the video was showing a burial site. It is unsubstantiated that that's the case.
No, it is true that that video showed the crosses that represent...
Which is what the president claimed.
The video showed images of crosses in South Africa about white farmers who have been killed and politically persecuted because of the color of their skin. And those crosses are representing their lives. Those crosses are representing their lives in the fact that they are now dead and their government did nothing about it. Are you disputing that there's no...
I'm disputing the fact that the video showed what the president claimed it showed, because it did not show that. But even more, what I'm asking you is who at the White House...
No, it did show that. It showed white crosses representing people who have perished because of racial persecution.
Verifies the videos that the president shows, and what protocols are in place when there's unsubstantiated information being put out for the world and world leaders to show?
Yamiche, what's unsubstantiated about the video? The video shows crosses that represent the dead bodies of people who were racially persecuted by their government. In fact, the Associated Press, of all places, has a picture of that very monument, and the caption from the Associated Press is, "Each cross marks a white farmer who has been killed in a farm murder." So it is substantiated, not just by that video and the physical evidence that everybody saw on display in the Oval Office, but also by another outlet in this room, the Associated Press. So you should take it up with them if you believe the claim is unsubstantiated. And that's a ridiculous line of questioning.
Okay, first of all, may I just say that if I get the opportunity to be with Caroline Leavitt again, I could hug her for a very, very long time for that exchange by itself. She's brilliant almost every single day, but that alone is worth the price of admission. That woman is special. That is a brilliant, brilliant illustration of how you combat the misinformation goons, much like Marco Rubio with that goon Sheldon Whitehouse in the Senate yesterday. And the thrust of her argument that MSNBC thug, the angry militant black woman from MSNBC who just does not believe that whites would be murdered by blacks, she doesn't believe that. She didn't want to hear it. Again, narratives just being completely disrupted. You can't have it. You can't be an angry black lady on MSNBC and have people start feeling sorry for white people being murdered because of their race. You can't have it, because that's your one calling card to any kind of conversation on MSNBC is your angry racial grievances. So if people start to think that blacks in South Africa are killing whites, oh crap, I can't have that. I'm black. You see how this plays? So that's basically the makeup of a woman like this from MSNBC. So she's sitting there, and what is she picking on? So Trump shows this video yesterday to the South African president, and he says, "Look at all these crosses of the graves." Okay, so he you know, in the way Trump does, he's talking off the cuff. He says graves. Okay, and this woman from MSNBC says, "He said it was graves. It wasn't graves." And Caroline said, "Well, okay, fine. No, they're not graves, but they represent white dead people. Each one of those crosses represents a white dead person." Yeah, but he said they were graves. You see, this is just like what Sheldon Whitehouse did yesterday with, I'm sorry, not Marco Rubio, but rather Lee Zeldin, when they were talking about all the waste and the fraud in grant money at EPA. Sheldon Whitehouse was focused on how they reviewed them, the process. You said you reviewed them in one day. Well, no, we looked at over 7 days and then made a decision in one day. Yeah, but you in testimony you said 1 day. And Zeldin is getting furious in the testimony with Whitehouse, who's being blatantly he's obfuscating. I mean, he's dodging what this is actually about, which is the abuse and the fraud at the EPA. He's not focused on that. He's trying to trip people up in semantics about timelines in studying the waste, fraud, and abuse. Much like this angry militant woman from MSNBC is trying to trip up Caroline by saying, Trump said they're graves. Okay, like that's what you're hung up on, rather than the merits of what those crosses actually represent, which she then brings in the AP brilliantly, who literally wrote and confirmed exactly what Trump and Caroline were saying. The AP, of all things, to back her up. This is brilliant. It's brilliant. And these people, this is how you got to go hand-to-hand combat with them verbally speaking. You got to be able to joust. This is why communicators are so critically important. Trump knew that going into this second term. Both he and everyone he has put around him are masterful communicators. And by the way, it matters that there has not been any meaningful condemnation from Democrats at all on the open assassination from a 30-year-old Chicago lunatic killing a couple of Jews outside a museum. There's been no condemnation. Where have the Obamas been? There's been nothing publicly said. No posts on X, nothing. And that matters.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.